Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Recovery Classroom. My name is Drew. I'm an alcoholic, and today, by the grace of God, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I cannot be any more grateful. I want to say thank you for your prayers, for your support. For my wife, she is back home resting. She was able to sleep in her own bed. I was able to sleep in my own bed last night rather than a hospital recliner that tried to lay flat and was hard as a rock. So, man, I got such good sleep, but I just need more. She is doing great. She's still a little groggy. She just came home yesterday evening, and still a little groggy, but she's glad to be home, and I'm glad to have her home. So, again, thank you guys. Tomorrow night, if you're local to the Huntington, West Virginia area, we have our crosstalk meeting, but tomorrow night is different, because tomorrow night we're going to put somebody in the spotlight. That's right. We have our very first speaker meeting, but it's a speaker meeting unlike any other speaker meeting. Think of a speaker meeting, but with crosstalk. So if you're local to the Huntington, West Virginia area, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, Pea Ridge United Methodist Church for our crosstalk spotlight, 5747 East Pea Ridge Road. Speaking of crosstalk, last week, and I apologize for whoever wrote this card, the guys will usually give me cards, or I'll get the cards, and I'll, after a meeting that we haven't talked about during that meeting, and I'll put them in my stack of cards and bring them home. And this one got mixed in to this stack, and so I was going through these this morning, and I was like, wait a minute, I haven't talked about this. And it's a great topic, but it's a tough topic. A couple both in early recovery. What are things you should do and say to keep building and staying positive with each other? Again, so whoever wrote that topic, I don't know who you are, but I apologize for just now seeing it and being reminded of it. I think this came in last week's crosstalk meeting, so I apologize. So both people in early recovery, there's this kind of these unspoken rules. You don't want to get into a relationship, and you don't want to make any major life changes like getting into a relationship or changing a career or something like that within the first year. Those are guidelines. Again, everything within a program, a 12-step program, are all suggestions. They're there for a reason, but relationships pose a really different aspect, a significant problem if you're not careful. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible to be in a relationship. I'm just saying it's difficult, especially when both people are early in sobriety. On these monologues before, I've talked about how if you're going to get into a relationship, make sure, one, it's a relationship with yourself first, because, again, you're still learning about you, your likes, your dislikes, your fears, your character defects. You're still learning all these things about you, and you're trying to change these things about you. But if you are going to get in a relationship, make sure it's with somebody who has some significant time under their belt. Maybe somebody who's not even in addiction. That works too. I know Drenda, her husband, he's not in addiction. So make sure, if you can, make sure it's somebody that does not have an addiction issue. And if they do, look for, okay, how much sobriety time do they have? Because if they got some significant sobriety time under the belt, well, hell, that could be advantageous for you. Right? If they've got a couple years, a year or two under their belt, and you're early on, that could be advantageous for you because they could help you. So again, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's difficult, and I want to set that expectation with you early on. So with this particular topic, both are in early recovery. And I started thinking, I don't think I've talked about that. What happens when both of them? I've seen this before. Last year we were going into a treatment facility, and there was a girl, I think she was like 2 weeks in, and she was already madly in love with this other guy that she was in the treatment facility with. And by the time she left, just 2-3 weeks later, by the time she left, she wasn't in love with the guy anymore. And the reason why, I think, this is just my own personal opinion, was because she's in treatment. She's learning about who she's wanting to become. She's relearning the person that she was, or that she was before she got into active addiction. She's learning about her likes, her dislikes, her fears, her character defects, and she's trying to change these things. And so, as she's relearning these things about herself, she's already in a relationship. And lo and behold, by the time she's leaving, she looks up and realizes the person that she is becoming or wants to become will not jive with the person that she's already in a relationship with. And that creates a problem for her. It creates a problem for the other person as well. It's easy to see how folks might relapse. So I want to encourage folks, if you're in a relationship, there's some simple things. Again, this is not, it's not easy by any means, but there are some easy things you can do early on. One, first and foremost, set expectations. Set expectations. Make sure the other person you're getting into a relationship with understands the gravity, the depth of the relationship, the depth of your program, the program that you're working. Talk, communicate regularly, on a regular basis. Don't put the other person in a box. Don't put a label on, oh, you're my boyfriend, or you're my girlfriend, or you're my significant other. You don't want to do that, because what happens when you put a label on somebody, you start putting expectations on somebody. If somebody calls me their boyfriend, all right, all of a sudden in my head, I'm going, well, I'm a boyfriend, so I have to do these certain things. All of a sudden, I've got these expectations. And all of a sudden, those expectations, as my sponsor likes to say, become resentments under construction. So because I'm somebody's boyfriend or I'm somebody's girlfriend, I have these expectations in my own mind that so-and-so is putting on me because I'm their boyfriend, I'm their girlfriend. And whenever I can't live up to those expectations, it starts creating resentment, maybe from the other person, or maybe I'm getting resentful towards that person. You can see how this can spiral out of control pretty damn fast. So when keep in mind, I'm going to go back to this. You're both rebuilding your lives, right? You're both rebuilding your own independent structures, your own independent houses. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, that can cause problems down the road, as I've just talked about. What happens if one of you relapse? Well, you're learning about you. You're relearning you. But if you're in a relationship and you're relearning about you, you're relearning about you already in a relationship. What happens if that person relapses? Well, shit, now all of a sudden, that person that you relearned who was in a relationship is gone because that person relapses and takes off or splits or whatever. And now all of a sudden you're stuck and you have to relearn you by yourself. Again, it can present problems. That's why I encourage folks, especially in relationships, and especially in this context, build healthy routines together. But build them individually. Think of two different construction sites, side by side. There's a house being built here that you're building, and a house that your partner is building here, side by side. You're working on your house, they're working on their house. You both happen to be working on your houses, just individually. My wife and I used to always talk about how her path to recovery is her pathway. My pathway is my pathway. Sure, we want to end up at the same destination, but we have to get there separately. If you're at your construction site working on your house, hey, Jim, hey, Susie, how you doing? Hey, can I borrow a power tool? Sure. You want to be careful, though, not to start lending out. There's nothing wrong with sharing even your materials. You want to be careful, though, not to sacrifice the materials for the house that you're building and just give too much away. Hey, Susie, do you have any extra molding? I'm making this shit up now because I don't know anything about this. Do you have any extra molding? Do you have any extra plywood? And I go, man, yeah, sure, here you go. Well, next thing you know, I've given too much plywood away, too much molding. I've given too much of my materials that I need to be using for my house. I've given too much away. Next thing you know, my house has cracks in it. My house is not optimized. My house is not built on a solid foundation. How can my house possibly be a place of refuge and safety for me, much less anybody else, if it's not built solidly, if it's not built on a solid foundation? And so, again, you want to build your houses separately, side by side. There's nothing wrong with that. That way you can kind of have your own little community going on. But build them separately and build them individually, but at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. As long as you're not giving away material for your house to your neighbor. That's when you can get in a problem. It's important to protect your house, period. Your house first and foremost. I tell that to my wife all the time. I got to protect my house, and I got to protect my sobriety. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're not creating those resentments, because those resentments can lead us back to our active addiction. So with that being said, I'll let you guys go. Hope you guys have an absolutely kick-ass day. Thank you guys for letting me come in and share 5 to 10 minutes of your day with you. You guys keep me sober. And I could not be any more appreciative. We'll be talking again soon. Remember, guys, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.